Hello, and thanks for coming along to And We Have an Office Dog, the digital agency podcast where we talk to agency owner-directors and learn more about what makes them tick. From the things that make them similar to the things they'd rather have known sooner, where they've had success and where they've learned some hard lessons. All will be revealed with your host, Chris Simmons, the agency coach, and he'll be talking to a different awesome agency person in each episode, asking them 4 questions and seeing where the conversation takes us over the next 25 minutes. Okay, so let us begin. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, voiceover guy. And on the podcast today, we've got Eve for a second time. Hey, Eve.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Really good, really good. Exhausted from having to be everywhere all at once, a bit like the movie. But it's a fun, wild ride at the minute. How about you? What's going on this week? So we're recording this on a Thursday, so hopefully looking forward to a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, one of the changes I made starting this year, or I've tried to make, is just reduce a little bit my hours. And I think that's the beauty of having a team and empowering a team to work with you as well. So actually, officially tomorrow should be a day off, so the weekend's a little bit nearer than we think, Chris.
Well, I'll message you on Friday afternoon and see if you reply.
Well, that's the reality, but I will. That's the thing. You never really shut off as the founder of a business, right?
You never do. And so, Eve, for anyone who's listening to this who's been a bit naughty and skipped season 1, because some people do that, believe it or not,
bad.
give them a little bit of a reminder. Who is Eve and what do you do?
Yeah, so Eve, I am Eve Gaut. I'm founder of Parrot PR and Marketing, the business that I set up just under 6 years ago now, and wow, have that time flown. We are a full circle marketing agency. We predominantly work in the sector for design, architecture and lighting, but of course we have clients that don't fall within those remits as well. So we offer all services as much as we possibly can to everyone.
That's awesome. And in general, net positive over the last year?
Yeah, look, it's been fantastic. Every day is a school day when you run a business, for sure. And I think every day I'm just learning more and more, which is something I actually really love the most about being an entrepreneur and owning a business. It's just really everything that you learn every day. You think you know everything, and then a curveball comes in your direction, and it's how can I navigate this situation?
Oh yes. So since we last spoke, what's been some of the major things that have happened in the agency? What's been some of the biggest changes that have happened in the last year?
Yeah, well, I guess that personnel, right? In an agency, it changes. Things do change, and that's good actually, because things evolve as well. So for our agency, we've continued to grow. We now have a bigger team, which of course is fantastic, which allows me that opportunity just to have a little bit more work-life balance. I'm very, very much involved in the business, but just being able to have a bit more balance is fantastic. We've got a really good, solid team of people with a real good variance of skills, actually. So we like to think we don't have any holes now. So when you set up, clients ask for things and you might not have the full skill set initially. But we'll continue to grow that, actually based on client feedback and client needs. So the team's got bigger. I think that's the biggest takeaway from the past 12 months, Chris.
And I know as agencies grow, you bring in new people. It's you're adding to the culture pot, should we say, of the melting pot of an agency, where you've got people from different places who've had different upbringings, different educations, maybe from different countries, different experiences, and everything like that. And it all comes into this kind of melting pot of your agency. What have been some of the kind of the nicer things that have happened in terms of bringing different people in? Is it new ideas? Is it just a bit more fun? What's cool there?
Yeah, well, look, we have a really, really good culture at Parrot PR and Marketing. So the team tell me, and so I feel,
So they tell you under pain of death?
No, seriously, I'm definitely not bribing them at the time. we get told that we have a really good culture, and we do. We're very, very friendly, very, very approachable. Because we're a small team, it's not hierarchical. It really is just about collaboration internally as well as externally with our clients. So definitely learning from different people's experiences. As you say, everybody has their own story, which is fantastic. And with that, they bring lots of different expertise, even viewpoints to matters. So, you might have a commercial matter and, none of us are experts. I didn't run a business before Parrot PR and marketing, and just being able to speak to people and kind of take a check-in with other people on their standpoint. Sometimes you go, oh yeah, okay, I can see it from that perspective as well. So I really enjoy the kind of perspective standpoint that people bring as well. And as I say, a great team. There's just no issues. There's no politics so far.
That's great. And try and keep it that way for as long as possible.
Fingers very firmly crossed sitting here, Chris.
I think with the attitude you've got towards people and business, I think it's inevitable that you'll have a few hiccups with people because people are people, but you'll keep them happy. I think it's people look up for how to behave, and if you have the right presence and leadership skills, then people will follow. Well, so keep it up.
I can say I'll try.
So that's the agency in the last year. What have you seen industry-wise emerging? What are you looking at interestingly? What are you avoiding purposefully? Is there anything that's happening in the last year that you've kind of gone, this is new?
Yeah, well, not necessarily new. I would say that I guess client expectations, client demands have definitely varied. We're obviously in a strange economic climate at the moment, and of course everybody wants more bang for their buck. So sometimes that can be expectations that perhaps aren't aligned with things that are realistic. And I always say, it's quality over quantity as well. Like, we can all smash out lots of work, but is it actually going to fulfill the purpose of what that activity is set for? So I would definitely say client expectations and demands have varied, and that's something that, you have to adhere to, and you have to align with it and manage as best as you can. I would say from a kind of marketing PR standpoint, one thing that the pandemic taught us, and we probably spoke about it in our last podcast at length, is having a kind of digital identity. That's become really important. And I would say, it's a buzzword at the moment, personal branding, and it's something that, we talk about a lot, but, we have a lot more leaders of businesses saying to us, actually, it's not just about having a company tone of voice and a company presence, which actually is super important, but there's that definite kind of realization that people do business with people, and as a result of that, people saying, well, actually, can you help me work on my profile? And that doesn't just mean having a look at their LinkedIn profile and smashing out a few posts. It's, how can I actually really get buy-in and kind of online sentiment from my audience?
Yeah.
And I always go back to the metrics when you look at companies like Virgin and Richard Branson. The followers Richard Branson has is far greater. And people go, I can't believe that. But I can believe it because he's developed a brand that people align with. And it's one of the reasons that some people would choose to do business with that brand. And there's heaps of other examples.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely been a real kind of change in that attitude, and more leaders wanting to become more visible or realising they have to be more visible.
And you mentioned about the client demands, the client expectations, and what are you as an agency? What are you guys doing to kind of realign clients when these things come up? Because it's super hard, because obviously you don't want to upset them and lose them, but at the same time it will cause more problems than it will solve if you capitulate every single time. So what are you guys doing? How are you handling that?
Yeah, really interesting question there, Chris. So one of the things my mum always taught me when I was younger was choose your battles. So I always look at things from a kind of commercial standpoint here. And I think we all know that sometimes the clients that perhaps spend the least or on their marketing activity are usually the ones that make the most noise. And you have to look at that situation because, look, there are growing pains when you're small businesses. And small businesses will obviously have a lot more questions, will require a lot more reassurance, because just the process of working with an agency is so much more different to things they're used to. Some of these companies have never even had had a marketing manager in-house, they don't even understand really the value of marketing. And it's our job to, I guess, convince them and show them the benefits and the return on investment. So in answer to your question, I always look at it on a case-by-case situation. Of course, we look at the time we do for clients. As an agency, we don't sit there and do timesheets for every 15 minutes. I believe that's just another admin task. I believe in just being reasonable and actually working with people for the long term. And the very idea of retainers is they go up and down. So if clients need a bit of a check-in, I'll go through what's been delivered, have a chat with them about expectations. Often people will say, actually, we probably need to spend a bit more time with you. We didn't realise. So it's just taking a bit of a rain check and kind of acceptance. Other companies will still have unrealistic expectations, and then there's a commercial decision to be made there as to whether actually do they require somebody else in-house, is working with an agency the best thing for them, is the service that we provide something that's going to align with their expectations and their future ambition for their company. And sometimes you make sensible decisions because that's what you do in business, you have to.
Well, yeah, you hope to. Because with all the data and all the information and all the experience, it's still a decision, and it's down to you at the end of the day what way you take it, and hopefully if it goes well. If it doesn't, it's a lesson, and in either case, there's something to gain, which is obviously important.
Even when you make mistakes, completely right. We all make many, but actually they're the best learnings because you never make the same mistake twice unless.
Well, it's only a mistake if you've learned from it. Otherwise, you are a bit of an idiot.
Yes, absolutely. To the words.
So we've talked about the agency in the last year. We've talked about the industry and changes around there. What about you? What as the business has grown, sort of professionally, personally, how have you grown? What are some of the major lessons for you of the last year?
So many lessons. So for me personally, I had a milestone birthday in December, and one of the things that I really wanted
21,
to do...
yeah?
21, of course, absolutely. You can even go up to the next decade, but if you hit the right one, I need to change my eye cream, right?
Okay. I know when to not say anything. That's a lesson I've learned.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's a difficult one sometimes. But I had a milestone birthday, and one of the things I really wanted to do after that was restore a bit of work-life balance. Of course, when you set up an agency, you are working insane hours, you are people-pleasing, you are doing everything, you're actually, kind of acting insanely so when you look back. But you have to do that to build a business and to gain people's trust. So after that being almost in the business 6 years, I thought I have to take stock and I have to recapture a bit of time back, because you can run a successful agency, which is great, but what is the point if actually you're not having heaps of happiness personally? And that's not to say I have a terrible personal life, absolutely not. But it's having the time to be able to enjoy all those wonderful things, my family, my animal, holidays and all of those things. So for me, personally, I'm trying to restore a bit more work-life balance. I'm continuing to build and empower the team to be able to make decisions. I guess for clients to become less reliant on the founder of the business, because if you've always been very front of house and very visible, there's going to be some clients that will grow with that, but it's introducing those new personalities to new clients to ensure that the business can continue to grow. And I actually think one thing that I've really learned, and it's a big lesson, and I speak about this a lot actually on LinkedIn because I feel very passionately about it, is having the ability to say no. It's so powerful, but the amount of times that, and I think a lot of people, as they continue to evolve in business, people will say, oh, can I pick your brains on this? Oh, can you do me a quick favor? You add all of those up and the compounding effect is insane. So you have to take stock and say, I really, really respect you and I want well for you, but I can't give everybody my free time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be running the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and that's a lesson, and that is a big lesson to learn, because like you said, you kind of set things up you do a lot of people pleasing because you kind of have to, but also because it's kind of in most people's nature when they're starting a business up, and eventually that could easily turn into something a little bit dangerous. It becomes something you just naturally have to do all the time, and And I've done it so many times. I offered to help someone a couple of months ago, ages ago, very flippantly. I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll help you. And then I ended up spending an entire weekend moving their house. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I didn't think that this kind of flippant, yes, I'll help you, would really turn into moving the whole thing. I thought I'd be helping for an hour with some boxes, not an entire weekend.
Cool.
So that was you definitely need to weigh up the conditions before you say yes to stuff, Chris.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. And I think you're right. There's also that transition period, because when you start a business, you say yes to every opportunity. You do everything every client requires because you want to build a successful business. You then get, I guess leverage is the raw word really, but you kind of establish yourself more, become more confident in your ability and what is and isn't okay and what is and isn't acceptable. But there's a big learning there. There's a big transition there from being that people pleaser and never saying no to politely having to turn some things down or actually explain, even things like, I guess you go and meet a client and they don't, sometimes clients might not think, oh, I didn't realize this was going to come out of my time, but we spent a whole day working there, speaking with you and so forth. And of course, time is the most precious commodity. And
I mean, that's all you're selling. Yeah. And talking of time, what's the plan for Parrot PR in the future? Parrot PR and marketing, in the future. If we do season 3, a year's time, what are we going to say that we'll be celebrating an achievement on?
Well, hopefully we'll be celebrating the team growing, lots of happy clients, continued stability, definitely continuing to move with the times and embrace everything that the world's throwing at us, from all of the new digital platforms to even the relatively interesting AI world that, is kind of taking a bit of a take on marketing. And I know, it's frustrating, but I think just in continuing to embrace new technologies, continuing to grow, have a happy team, really, really important to me. And if I can continue to restore that work-life balance, I will be a very happy Parrot, Chris.
and well, I think, like I said earlier, I think you've got every single bit of opportunity to make that a reality. You've got the right mindset to do that, and I think you can do it without being without taking too much away from one side to add to another. So I think next season 3, you'll come along and you're going to go, yep, did it.
Definitely. If I've got a separate work and personal phone by season 3, we'll be winning, Chris.
There we go. That's what we're going to focus on next year.
Great.
Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast the second time, Eve.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. And in our next episode, we'll revisit another agency leader to see how their last year's been. So thanks very much for listening, everybody.